ASMR pipe lube.
Hey folks, welcome back. It's the Big Barn Build. Today we're, believe it or not, back on timber framing. We're going to be getting our stud wall done around the pool side, so stick around and we're going to get it built. So we wasted 2 hours this morning just taking down the old timber. Remember, there's always these old purlins and stuff under the roof sheets we had to get out, and they're pretty tightly wedged, so eventually we got those down. The rails are out, so now we're blank canvas. I mean, that might even be the last old thing to remove from the whole building, which is quite a nice milestone. And we've got our cavity wall that we built last week, insulated that cavity. It's all below ground anyway. And then we are going to sit our sole plate on here, double sole plate. Remember last time we had an LVL at the bottom. We don't have any LVL, we've got glue lam, so we're going to do 2 glue lams. It just means that our sole plate will be a little bit thinner in this room, but that's fine. Good sight yesterday getting this stud wall up, so we're now working on the openings. 2 openings, both equal. We've set them out as per the plan. We've gone full circle from, it was going to be 2 big openings, then we were going to have no openings because of all the moisture and the ducting and ventilation you're meant to have over every bit of glass. Now we decided we want the extra light, so we're going to go for back to how they are, just but with a sill, so a standard height window. Same size openings, and then we've got bifolds to go in at this end, but that's some way off. We just want to get that wall up so we can start on the bricks. It's meant to be a scorcher today, so we're going to try and work as quick as we can and then probably jump out of the heat and move on to something else. Now, as we move into the preparations for getting the lintels in, we need to install the jack studs. Now, the jack studs are the solid glue lam timbers that are going to stand vertically, and our lintel will bear onto those. Now, where they meet an eye joist, you end up with a small gap because an eye is not a solid timber, and therefore you can either use a solid glue lam all the way to the top and then a secondary glue lam inside that as the jack stud, or alternatively you can fill the web of the eye joist with a piece of OSB or plywood. So there's an 18mm flange, I guess, on the inside of that. So we've cut some OSB down, sat that inside there. Just means that there's no cold air gap all the way through. It's a little bit too thin to start trying to put insulation in there, but what we don't want to do is have a cold air void there. So we filled the web, we put our solid glue lam inside that, and then we can move on to getting the lintels in place. Now what we realised at this point is access was going to be an issue. Remember, on the other side of this we've got the ICF pool shell, but then we've got very little backfill. There's nowhere to put a ladder the other side, so we really have to do everything from the outside, and therefore made a bit of a mistake initially by putting the eye joist, the first eye joist lintel in on the outside. We unscrewed that and moved it to the far side away from us, and then we could do all the insulating from the ladder side, and that worked a lot better. Right, if you weren't with us back in last winter when we were doing all the rest of the lintels, this is how we're building them. Although we were building them on the ground as full complete units, we're building this one up in place because it's a bit easier. But you can see we've got a glue lamp at the bottom, we've got 2 vertical eye joists which are sitting in and out, and then we're insulating, in this case just with some mineral wool, and then there's another board that goes on top, so it creates an insulated lintel. There's no real thermal bridging all the way through apart from the glue lamp at the bottom. We're going to use mineral wool here, we use sheep's wool elsewhere, and of course all the rest of these studs get blown with the cellulose, which is densely packed in, and that's going to happen at the same time as the rest of the building. So these two go in, and in some of the areas where we've had bigger loads, like above the sliding doors or bigger walls, we have done 2 or even 4, 2 on each leaf, so there's been 4 lintels to make up the whole beam. But these are quite short spans, so 1 on each side is fine. Right, the heat wave is finally over. That was a hot day today. It was 34 or something on the forecast, but I'm pretty sure it was even warmer around here. We've got that silver membrane, and we've got all this concrete, and it was roasting. But anyway, we've got about 3 or 4 hours done, and in that time we've managed to do everything we need to do. So I'll give you a walk around and explain next steps. We have glazing now. It's going to be full of light, especially in the morning, and I think one of the benefits is going to be the light coming through here on this east side, helping to flood through that fixed glaze window there in the back. And although that seems like a small window in the whole scheme of things, that does actually bring through quite a lot of light in the morning, light that we don't get from any other source really in that part of the lounge. The lintels up the top, all glued and screwed and dripping away. We use a load of PU glue up there, so they're going nowhere. Now we need to sheathe the outside. The rest of the building we use the wood fibre vent board. That was good. It was quite expensive, and I only need a few sheets, so I will make a decision whether we try and get hold of some more of those, or we just use OSB. Then after that we can just use the membrane, the battens and the brickwork. Getting that pool plumbed means that we can then drop in a concrete hose from the pump through here. So before we board this, we want to make sure that we can get concrete through here, and if we need to run a hose through, do you call it a hose or a pipe from the pump, we'll bring the concrete pump through, and we need to get into that ICF. So if I can do that, then that means that when Tom comes back we will be able to get the block and beam done. Absolute monster of a wall is the right height now. The inside or the outside lip of that ICF is cut down level with here, so we should now be able to pour our concrete into that formwork level without here. Our beams will sit across, it's only 1 metre across there, and then the blocks will go in, and at that point we'll end up with 150mm. We'll have a slip, beam here, block in between the beams. That gives us 150mm, and then at that point it gives us something to build off. We can then continue this sort of 9-inch stub of a wall along and build our timber frame on top of that. Remember, the priority now is brick, cladding. We've got to get it done while we've got chance, while it's dry. We can get all of that in place, after which we're able to just kind of forget outside, move inside, and spend all winter ticking away inside. Right, we have, as always, skipped ahead a little bit. We were going to hold off and do the brick video, and then we've jumped the brick video ahead. We've ordered our mortar, so we're back on the wall. So we've had a bit of a break off it, now we're back, and we are pushing on getting the OSB up. So this is, instead of the wood fibre board, we're using the OSB sheathing board. I'm just going through now, routing out the openings, which I'm going to do on this one now. Right, that's all the openings all flushed up, ready. I think I might put some tape on the bottom just where it laps over. The reason for that is the membrane is okay, but especially the blue membrane, I remember driving rain still get a bit of a kind of penetration of the water getting through it, and I don't want that to swell that bottom OSB. So underneath the membrane for now, I might just lap a little bit of either tape or DPC just over there, just so if anything comes down, it's this edge here that always tends to swell. But then really once the membrane's there and then we fit the windows and stuff, that obviously won't be an issue. But for the next month or so, we'll make sure that stays nice and flush. Bonus content coming. We've finished our wall for now. Good news is the concrete pump and lorry and mix and everything else is scheduled for Tuesday next week. So that means we can also get all of our pipe fittings done ahead of that, which is nice. And we've got people coming to double check things before that happens, which is perfect. So we're carrying on with some drainage because we can. Just because we've got the mini digger here, and we actually thought it's not a bad time to get it done, because what we want is a nice level surface here for running the scaffold tower along when we're doing cladding and things like that. We've got 3 exit points coming through from under the slab, which we did whenever it was last year. That means that we need to take them across and into a run of pipe work which goes to our sewage treatment plant. Now, rather than have it close to the building, which was the initial plan, we're going to take it over to the other side. We're actually going to put a garden bed or planting sort of area along that outside wall. So this will all be a slab or paving or whatever. And we're just going to put the drainage in one run along the end there. So we need to have inspection chambers and sort of just areas where we can rod from and things like that if we had to. This one is actually only a shower. That's going to come in, and it's got a 45 or 22, whatever that is, along to the first inspection chamber. This one comes through, picks up on the, I think it's a stack from upstairs, and a nice gradual change in direction there. That's going to go across everything. The levels are up here, about 450 above everything. Inspection chamber there, then a gradual fall, and then we've got one more. Oh my goodness, there's cats everywhere. Another fall here across the inspection chamber, and then that's going to be a gradual run. The sewage treatment plant is going to be down there where that galvanized gate is. So there's 2 pipes. There's the run that comes underneath the front garden and this one, and they'll be both going into that. This is the bit that we could do with doing now, burying it and then having a nice level smooth surface. We might even push on and get the finished slab. We might just do a concrete slab along here, but nicely finished, because that would mean that we could then use the scissor lift around here, which, doing all the cladding, barge trims and everything, is so much nicer than the scaffold tower. And even if we're using the scaffold tower, that on a hard surface rather than on type 1 is better. You good?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Contact. Okay. That leaves that at 450, so. Yeah?
Yeah.
He's in.
ASMR pipe lube. There we go. That's her in. Generally,
so all the connections are made. We've got a few extra bits we need to do at the far end, plus also another riser on each of the inspection chambers just to bring it up to the height we need. We might have to cut those down. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to do that garden bed along that pipe run, so we're going to bring over some topsoil over that wall. All the drainage gravel's in and backfilled, all the levels are checked and the falls and photographed and submitted for building control. They've done all the in-person checks on the other runs, so they're happy for this bit to be submitted as photographs, and actually a lot of it is still exposed for them to check if needed. And then we can get all of this prepped and ready for compaction. So what we decided to do is put the soil in first. We're not going to shutter the type 1, there's just no point, but if we bring them up in equal quantities, then they should just hold themselves in place. So by tipping soil over the wall, which we could just about do with the dumper, and then bringing the digger up, we could add a bit more type 1 to bring it up to level. Now, whether it's a 100mm concrete slab along here, decoratively, you know, as a nice finish, or whether it's a 50mm bed and paving, we're about the same height, so this type 1 can be done nicely. And once we were done with the digger, we decided to bring the roller up. Now this is out on hire for the track this week, so it made sense to try and use this rather than the whacker plate. Of course, not really an off-road vehicle, so it did struggle down on that soft ground, but by the time we'd added a bit more stone, we were able to get her up. We've now got a really compacted slope, which is handy. But I could carefully, bit by bit, go along this back terrace area and get a really good compaction. Now I turned off the vibration and went really quite steady over where we knew the pipes were, but everywhere else got a good drumming through. And then also along the front side on the west face, I did the patio and pass, so we know that they're well compacted and we can just leave them like that on that side for probably a year before we've moved back to landscaping. But there we go, some good progress this week. Hopefully this week we're going to get all that pool stuff done. We've got a big ICF pour, which is the big milestone moment this week. So pumps coming Tuesday, and we're going to get all that concrete done. So that'll probably be in the next video along with our final track episode. But I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching, everyone. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.